All right, and we're back with book 21 of the Odyssey by Homer. The contest with the great bow. So, last couple of chapters, Odysseus' revenge tour, well underway. He's back at home in disguise, and Athena is orchestrating this whole revenge plan. And Odysseus is reconnected with a few people. His son knows who he is. I think he's the only one who knows. And last chapter, he was reacquainted with his old nurse who knew him. And now we're moving on to this contest with the great bow. You remember Penelope's plan to bring her husband's great bow into the hall and the axes and to propose a shooting match. You remember that, right? You remember Penelope's plan to bring her husband's bow into the hall and the axes and to propose a shooting match? Death was the prize. Whoa. Though they knew it not. Now she climbed the stair to her room and got out the key of the storeroom, a fine key of bronze with a curving catch and an ivory handle. She passed on with her waiting women into the innermost storeroom where her husband's treasures were kept, bronze and gold and wrought iron. There was the great bow with a double back springing curve and a quiver full of arrows. All these his magnificent friend, if it is Eurytides had given him, when they met once in Lacedaemon. And this is the story. They met in the house of Ortilochus in Messene. Odysseus had come to demand reparation from the Messenians, for the Messenians had lifted 300 sheep out of Ithaca and carried them off in their ships with the shepherds. So Odysseus was sent as public envoy all that long way when he was quite a youth, by his father and the aldermen of Ithaca. Iphitos was in search of a dozen brood mares which had been lost along with their mule fowls. In the end, these were the death of him, when he came across that mighty son of Zeus, that grand fellow Heracles, a champion if ever there was one. But Heracles entertained him as a guest, and then killed him in his own house. A hard man he was, who cared nothing for the wrath of God or the table of hospitality. So he killed the owner and kept the mares for himself. Iphitos was inquiring for these mares when he fell in with Odysseus, and gave him the bow. His brawny father, Eurytus, used to carry it, and he left it to his son when he died. Odysseus gave him a sharp sword and a strong spear to mark the beginning of their friendship. But they never sat together at table, for Heracles killed Iphitus too soon for that. He was a great noble who gave that bow. Odysseus never took the bow with him when he went to war across the sea, but he carried it in his own country, and treasured it in memory of a well-loved friend. Those were indeed arrows of sorrow, which Penelope came to fetch. So the lady came to the storeroom door. There was the wooden threshold, planed and polished so skillfully by the craftsman, and made straight to the line. There were the doorposts, and the pair of shining doors. Quickly she unfastened the thong from the crow latch, then ran in the key, dropping the prongs exactly into their holes. Exactly into their holes, and shot back the bolt. What a crashing and creaking there was when the key hit the bolt, and the doors flew open. You might have thought it was a bull bellowing in a meadow. This description is a parody. The kind of key described was set with prongs, which fell into holes in the bar which held the door, and the most they could do would be a good loud click, but the bar might creak also. She stepped upon the high platform, where chests were standing full of scented stuffs. She reached up to the peg and took off the bow in a shining case. Then she sat down and laid it across her knees, weeping bitterly as she handled her husband's bow. But after she had enjoyed a good cry, she descended to the boisterous company in the great hall, holding in her hand the bow and the quiver with its arrows of sorrow. The attendants followed, carrying the tray with the master's iron gear for the contest. Penelope stood by the doorpost of the great hall, holding her soft veil in front of her cheeks, and spoke out before them all. "Hear me, you proud men that seek my hand. You who have laid siege to this house, eating and drinking day after day all this long time while my husband has been absent, and not one word could you say for yourselves, but that you wish to make me your wife. Now then, here is the prize before your eyes, and here I lay my noble husband's bow. Whoever shall be able to most easily to string the bow with his own hands, and shoot through the openings of 12 axes set in a line." This is the shape of an ancient axe, which suits the story. Well, isn't that just the cutest little diagram at the bottom of the page there? That's what the axe looked like, and I'm assuming they had to shoot the arrow through that little hole there. Amazing. "Whoever shall be able most easily to string the bow with his own hands and shoot through the openings of 12 axes set in a line, he shall win me. I will leave this house of my young married days, so fine and so full of all good things, which I think I shall always remember even in my dreams." Then she called Eumaeus, and told him to carry round the bow and iron stuff. Eumaeus took the bow from his mistress, and tears came into his eyes as he laid it down. Tears came into the drover's eyes where he stood, as he saw his master's bow. But Antinous rated them both, and he said, "A couple of foolish bumpkins who can't see tomorrow from today. You wretches, why do you blubber and harrow your lady's feelings? She has trouble enough as it is in losing her husband. Sit down quietly to your dinner. Or if you want to cry, go outside and leave the bow here to settle our rivalry once and for all. For I don't think it will be easy to bend that fine bow. There is not a man in all this company as good as Odysseus. I have seen him myself, and I remember him well, although I was only a boy." That is what he said, though he really expected to bend the bow himself, and to shoot through the line of axes. Antinous, you. Antinous. But he was to have the first taste of an arrow from Odysseus, the very man he was dishonoring at that moment, and egging on the others to do the same. At this, Telemachus burst out wildly. Asterix. The reader should not fail to notice this touch. Telemachus knows that his father is there, and that vengeance is coming, and deliverance for his mother, and he is so excited that he must say something. But what he says is just bluster to hide his thoughts. Okay. Out with it, Telemachus. Let it out. "Upon my word, Zeus Cronion has made me crazy. Here is my dear mother, a model of propriety, going to leave this house and take another man, and I just laugh and enjoy it like a born fool. Come along, then, hearties. Here is your prize before your eyes, a woman who has not her equal in the whole country, not in Pylos or Argos or Mycenae. But you know that already. What's the good of praising my mother? Come along, no shilly-shally. Don't hang back. String the bow and let us see. I think I will just have a try myself. If I can string the bow and shoot a bullseye, I shall not mind it a bit if my honored mother leaves the house and goes off with someone else, when I am left behind, quite able to handle my father's gear." Then he stood up, and threw off his purple cloak, and the sword from his shoulders. First, He drew a long trench in the floor, straight to the line, and set up the axes, stamping down the earth to hold them. All were surprised to see how neatly he did it, although he had never seen them before. Then he returned to the doorway and tried the bow. 3 times he moved the upper end forward as he strove to string it. 3 times he gave up. He felt sure he could bend the bow and shoot the shot, but when he had tried the 3rd time, Odysseus made him a sign, and he desisted, much against his will. Then again the brave lad said, "Bless my soul, I shall turn out to be a weakling and good for nothing. Or perhaps I am still too young, and I cannot yet trust my hands to defend myself if someone attacks me. Come along, you stronger men. Have a try at the bow and let us finish this game." With these words, he put down the bow, leaning against the polished panels of the door, and stood the arrow against the tip of the bow. Then he sat down again. Antinous said, "Come up in order, all of you, from right to left, beginning at the place where the man is serving the wine." They did so, and the first man who came was Leiades, their diviner, the son of wine-faced Oinops. Leiades, who always sat up at the very end of the hall beside the great mixing bowl. He was a man who hated all kinds of violence and resented their doings. He was the first to take up the bow and arrow. He stood at the threshold and tried the bow, but he could not bend it. His soft, unpracticed hand soon grew tired as he pulled and pulled, and he said at last, I can't bend it, my friends. Let someone else take it. This bow shall destroy many a strong man, since it is better far to die than living to miss that which brings us all here together, waiting and waiting day after day. There is many a man here now that hopes and desires to wed Penelope, but when he has seen and tried the bow, let him woo some other woman of our nation and pay his court with gifts. Then the lady will take the man who offers most, the man who has the luck. Then he set the bow leaning against the door, and placed the arrow against the tip, and returned to his seat. But Antinous rated him roundly. "I never heard of such a thing, Leiades. Dreadful. Nonsense, I call it. Dreadful nonsense, I call it, and it makes me angry. So this bow shall destroy many a strong man just because you can't bend it? The fact is, your respected mother did not produce a son fit to draw bows and shoot arrows. We shall soon find someone else who is man enough to do it." Oh, I tell you, this Antinous guy, these are really getting on my nerves. Then he called to Melanthius, the goatherd. "Hurry up, you, light a fire in hall and put a good big seat near it, with a fleece to sit on, and then fetch a good chunk of fat from the pantry. The young fellows can warm the bow and grease it well, and then we'll finish our game." Melanthius lost no time in lighting the fire. He set the seat in place with its fleece, and brought out a good chunk of fat from the pantry. The young men warmed the bow and had their try, but no one could bend it. They were far too weak. Antinous and Eurymachus kept them hard at it. These two were the ringleaders. Oh, these two are going to get it. These two are going to get it. Meanwhile, the drover and the good old swineherd had gone out together, and Odysseus followed them. As soon as they were outside the gate of the courtyard, Odysseus began to speak to them quietly. "You, drover, and you, swineherd, I have something to say to you. Or shall I keep it to myself? My mind urges me to speak. What would you do to defend Odysseus if some providence brought him here? If he should turn up all of a sudden, would you side with Odysseus or with the others? Tell me the honest truth." The drover answered at once. "O Father Zeus, if only that grant this blessing. If only some god might bring that man home at last, that'd know then, sir, the strength of my hands." So also Eumaeus prayed to all the gods of heaven that they might bring back Odysseus to his native land. Odysseus now saw that they were both honest men, and he spoke again and said, "Here I am, in my house, my very self. After sore tribulation, after 20 years returned to my native land. I see that you two alone of all my servants welcome my coming. I have not heard one other pray that I might return. I promise you both on my honor, and I will keep my word. If God shall destroy all these men by my hands, I will find wives for both of you, and give you land and well-built houses close to myself, and you shall be friends and brothers of my son Telemachus. And now I will show you something, to prove manifestly who I am, and show you that you may trust me. Here is the wound which the wild boar made, when I went that time to Parnassus with the sons of Autolycus. Autolycus! Then he drew back his rags and showed the scar. They examined it closely, and then they threw their arms round his neck and burst into tears, kissing and fondling his head and shoulders. Odysseus also kissed their heads and hands, and they might have gone on till sunset, but he checked them and said, "That is enough. No more weeping and wailing now, or someone may come out and see us all and tell them inside. Go in one at a time. I first, and you after. Let this be your signal. They will all refuse to give me the bow and quiver, but you must come down the hall, Eumaeus, and put the bow in my hands. And afterwards, go and tell the women to bolt the doors of their rooms, and if they hear any noise or tumult of men where we are, not to come out, but to stay where they are, and mind their own business. You, my dear Philoetius, lock the courtyard gate and fasten it with cords as quick as you can." Accordingly, he went back to the hall and returned to his seat, and the two others came in after him. By this time, Eurymachus was handling the bow, and warming it all round at the fire. But even he was not able to bend it. He uttered a deep groan of annoyance and called out, "Upon my word, I am sorry for myself and for everybody. It is not so much the wedding, though I am sorry enough about that. There are plenty of women to be had in Ithaca and elsewhere. But to think that we can be so much weaker than Prince Odysseus, that we can't bend his bow, that will be no credit to us in future generations." Antinous answered, "That's all nonsense, Eurymachus, and you know it." "That's all nonsense, Eurymachus, and you know it. Today is the feast and holiday of the great god in our town. Who would trouble about bending bows today? Put it aside and never mind. As for the axes, may they be left here. They will take no harm. I don't think anyone will march into the hall of my lord Odysseus and pull them up. Come along. Let the man pour in our drops. Let us honor the gods and put away bow and arrows. Tomorrow tell the goatherd Melanthius to drive down his best goats, and we will offer the rump slices to Apollo and his bow, and try again at this bow, and finish our game." All were glad to agree. The marshals brought water for their hands. The boys filled the mixing bowls to the brim, and served wine to all in due form. When the ceremony was done, and they had eaten and drunk all they wanted, Odysseus spoke according to his secret plan. "May I be allowed to speak to the gentlemen who are here paying court to the noble lady? But I address myself specially to Eurymachus, and my lord Antinous, since he said the right thing just now, to put away the bow for the present, and leave the rest to God. Tomorrow, God will give the victory to whom he will. But I beg you to give me the bow, and let me try the strength of my hands. Let me see if my muscles are as strong as they once were, or if all my strength is gone through wandering and hardship." This made them all very angry indeed, for they were afraid he might succeed in bending the bow. Antinous gave him a sound rating. You wretched stranger, you must be out of your mind. Aren't you satisfied to dine unmolested in the company of gentlemen, and have all you want to eat? Must you listen to our conversation? No other beggar or stranger listens to our conversation. The wine's too good for you, that's it. Wine plays mischief with anyone who opens his mouth too wide and swallows too much. Wine fuddled the famous centaur Eurytion when he visited the Lapiths in the hall of Perithous. When his wits were fuddled with wine, he went mad and raised a riot in the hall of Perithous. The guests leapt up in anger and dragged him out, and cut off his nose and ears. So with his fuddled wits away he went, hag-ridden by his own folly and fuddledom. From this came the feud between centaurs and men, and he brought punishment on himself first by getting drunk. So I prophesy great trouble for you if you bend that bow. You will find no mercy in our town, but we will send you off to XXI, the bogey king who chops men up, and no one will save you from him. Sit quiet and drink. Don't quarrel with younger men. Penelope answered him, Antinous, it is not right or fair to deny any guest of Telemachus who may come to this house. If the stranger is strong enough to bend my husband's bow, do you suppose he will take me home and make me his wife? I do not imagine any such thought ever entered his head. None of you need be anxious on that score, for indeed it would be most improper. Eurymachus answered, Make you his wife? No, my dear Lady Penelope, we never supposed anything so absurd. It was the thought of men and women gossiping. If some common fellow should say, a lot of second-rate specimens want to marry the wife of a real gentleman and can't bend his bow. And here comes a beggar on the tramp, bends it easily and shoots straight to the bullseye. That sort of thing would get us a bad name. Penelope replied, Eurymachus, no good name is possible for those who dishonor the house of a prince and devour his wealth. Then why do you think such a trifle will get you a bad name? This stranger is a fine, well-built man, and he says his father was a man of birth and rank. Just give him the bow and let us see. I tell you plainly, and I will keep my word. If Apollo grants him the honor of bending the bow, I will supply him with an outfit of good clothes, and a spear to keep off dogs and men, and a sharp sword, and boots for his feet, and I will help him on his way wherever he wishes to go. Telemachus now put in a word. My dear mother, no one has a better right than I to give the bow to whom I will, or to refuse it. No great noble of Ithaca or of the islands along the coast. Not one of them shall compel me against my will, even if I wish to present the bow and arrows to my guest and let him keep them. I beg you to retire to your rooms. You have your own work, loom and distaff, and the servants to look after. The bow is a man's business, and mine in particular, for I am the master in this house. Penelope was surprised, but she admired his spirit, and went back to her room, thinking what a man he had become. Upstairs with her waiting women, she spent the time in lamenting her lost husband, until by grace of Athena, she fell into a sound sleep. Now the swineherd had taken up the bow, but as he was carrying it along, there was a great outcry among the intruders, shouts and protests. Where are you taking that bow, you crazy swineherd? Confound you! Your dog shall tear you to pieces. All alone among your pigs? You bred them, and soon you shall feed them, if Apollo and all gods are gracious to us. The swineherd dropped the bow on the spot. He was terrified by all these men shouting at him, but Telemachus called out from the other side in a threatening voice. Daddy, take the bow along. Soon you'll be sorry if you listen to these people, or I'll chase you out into the country with a shower of stones. I may be younger, but I am stronger. I wish I were as much stronger than all these gentry. I could soon send them out of the house in a way they wouldn't like. for they are a wicked lot." This made them all laugh heartily, and put them into a better temper. So the swineherd carried the bow along and put it into the hands of Odysseus. Then he went out and called to Euryclea the nurse, and said to her, "My good Euryclea, the young master says thou must shut the doors of your rooms, and if anyone hears any noise or riot where we are, they must not come out, but mind their own business." She did not understand the meaning of his words, but she shut the doors of their quarters. Quietly, Philoetius ran out and locked the courtyard gate. There was a strong ship's hawser under the porch, and he used this to fasten the gate. Then he came in again and returned to his seat, with his eyes ever on Odysseus. By this time, Odysseus was handling the bow, turning it round and feeling every part, to see if the worms had gotten into it while its master was abroad. The others were watching him, and one would say, with a look at his neighbor, "Well, he seems a bit of a bow fancier. He seems a bit of a bow fancier. He knows the points of a bow. I wonder if he has things like that at home. Maybe he thinks of making one. See how he handles it and poises it? That clever old rascal." Or another again, "He's welcome to all he'll get by stringing that bow." Amid all this talk, Odysseus balanced the bow and scanned it over. Then, as easily as a skillful musician stretches a new string on his harp, fastening the sheep gut over the pegs at each end, so without an effort, Odysseus strung the great bow. Then he took the bow in his right hand and twanged the string. At his touch it sang a clear note like a swallow. The gallants were dumbfounded, and their skin paled. Zeus gave a loud thunderclap, a manifest sign. And Odysseus was glad that after all his troubles, Zeus had shown him a portent. Zeus, the son of Kronos, the master deceiver. He took one sharp arrow which lay out on the table before him. The others were still in the quiver, but those present were soon to feel them. This he laid on the bridge of the bow, and drew back the string and notches together, still sitting upon his chair as he was. He took aim and let fly. He did not miss. Right through the tops of all the axes went the shaft, and clean out the other end. Then he turned to Telemachus and said, "Telemachus, your guest is no discredit to you. I wasted no time in stringing the bow, and I did not miss the mark. My strength is yet unbroken, not as these men taunt me in their scorn. But now it is time to prepare supper for the company, while the light lasts. After that there will be time for other sport with music and song, for these are the graces of a feast." Then he signaled with a nod to Telemachus, and Telemachus slung on his sharp sword, and grasped his spear, and took his stand by the seat, the son armed by his father's side. Oh shit, they're gearing up. What's going on? "Ah! Ah! The battle's coming!" Oh, the next chapter is going to be good. Book 22, The Battle in the Hall. Oh, that may have been the coolest ending to a chapter yet. Then he signaled with a nod to Telemachus, and Telemachus slung on his sharp sword and grasped his spear, and took his stand by the seat, the son armed by his father's side. Oh, it's going to go down next chapter. Book 22, The Battle in the Hall. Ooh, we'll see you.